Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today I'm talking about the Florida Panthers and what they should be doing at this upcoming NHL trade deadline. So right now the Florida Panthers have 64 points, and now, as of 2:34 p.m. Pacific time, I think, they are in a four-way tie now. This is incorrect because the Washington Capitals just defeated the New York Rangers, and they are in a four-way tie for the second wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference with the Panthers, the Capitals, the Red Wings, and the Buffalo Sabres all with 64 points and tied. So it's a real tight race over there in the Eastern Conference. And the Florida Panthers, I think if there was a team to decide to go in and try to be a buyer this year, this of the teams would be the one. The Washington Capitals probably going to be sellers. I don't think they're going to be buying into anything. They're either going to sit on their hands or sell. The Buffalo Sabres, I think, are going to be buyers as well. And the Detroit Red Wings, I don't really know what type of moves they could make. So out of the four, the Panthers are one of the few that are actually going to be able to make moves to become playoff worthy and playoff cup contenders. So what is the problem with the Florida Panthers this season? So last year, of course, we know they set a new record for like comeback wins or something like that. They led the league in goals. And this season, right now, they are fourth in goals for in the NHL in its entirety with 210. They're only below like teams like the number one team is the Edmonton Oilers, like I just covered, and I think Bruins are ahead of them as well. So right now they're doing pretty good for goals for. So yes or no, is that the issue? I would say probably no. However, fifth in goals against, and they are the number one playoff worthy team with the most goals against. I would probably say that is in the yes category. So, right now, obviously, the Florida Panthers, they have an issue. They can score goals, but they cannot keep it out of their own net. So, obviously, that's the problem. So, I was looking, what is the main reason behind that problem? Is it because they have no defense? Well, if you take a look at their defense, I don't think that's the problem at all. I mean, they got Ekblad, Forsling. I mean, two guys that are probably more offensively definitely Forsling, but pretty good defenseman regardless. Montour is doing amazing this season. I definitely don't think he's a liability. Overall, at least half, and depending on the rest on the defense, I mean, Gudis and the other guys, I don't think their main problem is the defensemen themselves. And I think the main problem is that their goaltending, which we know has been shaky with Bobrovsky in the last few seasons, but then Spencer Knight looked good, but this year Spencer Knight's looking strange, which I'll talk about in a second, is that I think their main problem is goaltending right now. Especially, and it's real disappointing. We all already know the story with Bobrovsky being paid $10 million to be a really bad goalie. Well, average goalie at best. So obviously that's an issue for the Florida Panthers. So I was looking at the league and I was like, what team who could they actually land that's a good goalie? And I was looking, and sure, some candidates like Cam Talbot would be good, but would the Florida Panthers really go for a guy like Cam Talbot? I don't really think so. And, I mean, there's obviously some good contenders out there, but would you really bank on, like, a Aiden Hill or a James Reimer? Those are some ideas out there. And I landed on Darcy Kuemper, which is a team that they're in the race with, is the Washington Capitals. Darcy Kuemper. Now, he's signed for years to come, so he wouldn't be a rental. He would be a long-term guy. But I think it would be a smart decision for the Florida Panthers to bring in a guy that's as good as Darcy Kuemper. His numbers might not be incredible. Only a .913 save percentage, which isn't the best in the world, but definitely isn't bad. He's just right shy outside the top 10 in that category. And goals against average is 2.68. That isn't the worst at all. I mean, both pretty, at least, passable if you want to be the most critique about it. But I would definitely say that's a better than average goaltender right there. But the thing that seals it for me is he's got 5 shutouts. He's tied with Ilya Sorokin for shutouts this season with 5. And, I mean, which is incredible. We know Darcy Kuemper is an absolutely phenomenal goaltender, right? So it's not a surprise that he's up there in those numbers. And I think he would be better if the Washington Capitals have been shaky this year. It's amazing that they're even in the hunt right now. So overall, Darcy Kuemper would be amazing for this team regardless. But the thing that makes it shaky is, of course, the fact that Spencer Knight has now put himself in the player assistance program, which I don't really know. I mean, no one knows really how long that's going to last, how that even is going to work out for the Panthers at all, because that whenever a player goes in that, it's up to them to finally come out of it or something like that. It's not just like it's not like, oh, he's out for 2 months or something, you know? So who knows? And right now they're stuck with Bobrovsky in net, who's got like almost 500. He's not doing good this year. He's not doing good. And now the guy, was his name, Alex Lyons in net as well, a young guy. I mean, these are two guys you can't really rely on going into the playoffs, so especially Bobrovsky with the way he's played for them last year and just this season in general. But Darcy Kemper has been known. He won the Stanley Cup last year with the Colorado Avalanche. I wouldn't say it's his fault they won, but we saw what he could do with the Coyotes the year before. So you want a guy who's going to hold your team in contention if you run into the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Bruins and whatever the Toronto Maple Leafs. If the Florida Panthers were worried about that, bring in a guy like Darcy Kemper who can seemingly carry a team single-handedly by himself past a better team. There's no other goaltender, I think, better in the league that has shown that in the years prior. So Darcy Kemper, I think, would be the perfect ad and one of the smartest ads to the Panthers lineup. However, they'd have to clear out space and make room for the future. I don't really know how that would work, but it seems like any team can figure that out if they can do it. So Darcy Kemper, smart choice for them. As well as, I was looking, and yes, I don't think their defense is bad at all, but I do think, obviously, defense is the problem. But my mindset is, everyone says, like, it's like, does offense or defense win championships, right? I think it's everything. I think you need offense, defense, and goaltending. But sometimes that it goes deeper than that, right? And when it comes to defense, sometimes the best defense is an amazing offense. So I was looking, and I landed on the Coyotes, and of course the big names of like Jacob Chychrun, right? Of course, he's the big defensive pickup for the trade deadline, right? And I don't really see him going there. However, Jacob Chychrun, he does have the offensive element to him, and Florida's defensemen obviously produce offense. There are guys back there who get a lot of points, and especially overall as a defensive squad. And bringing in a guy like Jacob Chychrun, not only does he bring offense, which they need, he's also good on defense, so you've got that as well. And if you run into, I mean, he could be your Victor Hedman. I've always said this. I really think that Jacob Chychrun could be the Victor Hedman he could be like the second best defenseman in the NHL. He just needs to be given a chance to showcase that and given a chance to win. And not only that, but he is from Boca Raton, Florida. This guy would go into his home state, and you don't think he's going to play his heart out to try to win the Stanley Cup with his home state, his home team. Now, I know he kind of claims to be Canadian or something like that, but he's from Florida. This is technically his home team, so there you go. So Chychrun, I think, would be a very smart ad for the Florida Panthers defensively, offensively, and just the story as well. The momentum behind it, because every Stanley Cup winning team needs that story. They always seem to have it, and there you go. You've got your kid right there. But then also Shane Gostisbehere, okay? Gostisbehere with 29 points, got one more than Jacob Chychrun. And the thing that I think kind of gives him the edge is, one, he is more offensively capable, especially generating from behind and definitely leaning more into the offensive. His offense is the best defense. Him getting the puck in your own zone going down. I've seen every game I go to the Coyotes, he seems to score a goal. And just the way he scores, he's just so smart with his shot, I guess. I don't really know how else I would describe it, but the way Florida could set up their defenseman back there and for him to just lay a shot on net and score, he does it with the Coyotes all the time. What could he do with the Florida Panthers? And I think that would, in his way of moving the puck and getting out of the zone, would definitely help Florida decrease their goals against, especially from being the worst playoff team when it comes to that during the regular season. As well as the one thing that stands him out from Chychrun is that he is a unrestricted free agent this upcoming season. So Chychrun signed for a while. You trade for Gostisbehere, his contract comes off the books this offseason. So which one, I feel like that might be would you rather have a guy for a while or just for a little bit? would be the differentiator between those two. And then I've got the one that I always like to throw in my own little fantasy idea of like what could like the craziest trade could happen. And I saw this one somewhere on Bleacher Report, I think, and I think this would be a very smart move for both teams. Is Bobrovsky for ERIK Karlsson, and I think that would be genius. I think Florida should lean into being just the offensive team in the NHL because it's Florida. It's sunshine, it's scoring goals like that. It just seems like that. Like be the goal scoring team, be the offensive. Sure, you might get scored on. Obviously, they've shown that they can get scored on 5-1 and come back and win. Right, that's their thing. So lean into that and bring in ERIK Karlsson. Forget your supposedly supposed to be star goaltender Bobrovsky, which we already know now is not good. But get rid of him for 2 bad contracts for each other. And the Sharks right now, they're trying to tank. They're not going to be good for the next few years. Bobrovsky is signed to 2026. The Sharks aren't going to become a good team in that time period anyways. And ERIK Karlsson is showing that he's got signs of life left. So wouldn't you rather for the two guys, the players as well as also the teams, like the Panthers could use a bad contract for a good player, and the Sharks could give a bad contract to a bad player, you know? I mean, whatever I'm trying to say, that kind of vice versa situation. And I think it would be so much smarter to have ERIK Karlsson perform and show off his talent and skill and actually try to win a Stanley Cup and get a lot of points and set records for the Florida Panthers than waste away in the hollow wasteland of San Jose and let Bobrovsky be a bad goaltender on a bad team so the Sharks get better draft picks over time. And it just kind of makes sense. The Sharks kind of need to lean into being a bad team and rebuild and bring in better youth and draft players. And the Panthers aren't really in that. They need to try to win right now. This is their time to win. And I think it would be a perfect swap, 1-for-1. Switch teams. One can be bad on a bad team. One can be amazing on a good team. And I think it would just make the most sense for both teams and the players overall for that to happen. And that is really all I have to say about the Florida Panthers. So thank you for watching this. Feel free to pick up your free subscription. Now, you actually know. Please pick it up. I'm on the road to 100. We're almost there. Not like any of them are like, I don't even know. Tell me down below. Are you a returning viewer? I'd like to know. I have no idea. I have a feeling the answer is no because I wouldn't, but I don't know. Maybe I do have some sort of following. So please get me to the road to 100. We're only 7 away. Be one of the lucky 7 down below. Thank you for doing that. Thanks. Anyways, please leave a like if you like this video. Not a dislike, but go down below and tell me how stupid I am and everything I've done in this stupid shirt trying to be Florida themed. And I've got a fake palm tree over there. So thank you for watching this. I hope you're having an amazing day. Too sweet, and I've been your Florida dress host, Owen. Too sweet, and ta-ta for now.